where ratepayers are upset about what's going on. They think their voices are being heard. And look, unfortunately, because we don't have compulsory voting, you can't make your feelings known at the ballot box. Now, the last local government election, just over 30% of the state voted for their local government representatives. Now, that's just not good enough, right? You hear people complaining, they whinge a lot about local government and what is going on, but a lot of them won't go and vote. That's going to change. So I'm after compulsory voting, and incredibly, after putting it up more than 4 years ago, with some resistance, I'm now finding a lot of support in the Parliament for it, and also in the local government area, so we're likely to get that. The other thing I'm going to be pushing for is you cannot vote in a local government election unless you're an Australian citizen. You need to be an Australian citizen to be able to vote in local government, just like it is in state and federal parliament. You can't just have a situation where international students move into the city of Adelaide, they're there for 30 days, and then they give them the right to vote. When they've got no skin in the game. But this happens all around the state. Somebody can come into your community and be only here for a matter of months, if that, and have the right to vote, and they've got no skin in the game. So that's one of the things we intend to change. And there are a couple of other things, and I had a meeting with Heinrich today, who raised a couple of important issues that I think we need to make some amendments to the Local Government Act, and we'll certainly be looking at doing that. Freedom of information is a powerful tool. When a council says they reject them, that can be unlawful, because you are entitled to make an application for freedom of information, and they have to get back to you within 30 days with a determination of what they're going to give you. To flatly deny an application for freedom of information is unjust and unfair. Now, what you can do then is appeal. You can appeal to the council. If they knock it back again, that's when you go to SACAM. And that's South Australian, it's a tribunal where they will hear an appeal. So there are ways of getting those documents. Now, if it is that we can call the BSP for a parliamentary committee, we'll be asking for those documents to be produced to Parliament. Simple as that. Now, there's a couple of things that were raised here today, but I'll let the people that were in the audience tonight that can raise them. I know that there are issues with boat ranking fees and the way that these are being collected here, and there was no consultation with the community about the process. And I believe there's an issue also with water on York Peninsula. It was raised to me by a friend of mine, particularly around the Ardrossan area and Rex Minerals. And I think there's a problem with water. That's something that we also need to investigate. Rates. Now, you people are not alone in having to absorb increases in your rates that are beyond the CPI. Now we know that there's an enormous cost of living pressures since the end of the pandemic, and bills have gone up from electricity to everything else for nearly over 30%. Council rates were held on hold. They were on hold during the pandemic, so they weren't going to impose increases then, but now it looks like the council have decided that what they lost they're going to try and regain. But it's the method of determining those rates that need to be looked at, and SCOSA is it's an independent government authority that looks at the structure of rates in the community. I'm about to introduce legislation in the Legislative Council. I've been working with the Local Government Association now for something almost close to a year about making the energy providers, the operators of wind and solar farms, more responsible to their communities by paying rates. Now, you'd be shocked to know that many of the biggest wind farm operators in the state, and also solar farm, do not pay rates. Or if they do, it's such a minuscule amount that is denying the community and the councils much needed income that they could then use in infrastructure in their community, but also bring down rates. So this legislation will move to ensure that the energy generators, the people that own those wind farms and solar farms, give back to the community, not just take hundreds of millions of dollars in profits, which a lot of them goes overseas, and nothing comes back to the community. So this legislation, and I hope it gets bipartisan support, will be to return money into the community and to councils so that they can actually use it to expend on roads and other infrastructure. Roads that these companies use to constantly maintain those wind farms and those solar farms. They cut them up in winter. The council has to go out and repair them. They don't pay for it. I was at Goyder a couple of weeks ago, and the mayor and the CEO there were telling me that if these power generators and owners of these energy farms paid their rates, they would earn $3 million extra a year. $3 million extra a year. You know, in that council area, it's important. It'll probably be the same in this. Oh, well, I don't know what the amount will be here, but there's no reason why Copper Coast and York cannot look at getting revenue from these green energy projects. Incredibly, one of the largest operators, Neon, French company, when they were in discussions with Goyder, now their turbines are going to go from about 160 to about over 400 within the next few years. When Neon were negotiating with the council, they were actually surprised that rates weren't being collected on them. They'd already factored in that they had to pay them. So that legislation is aimed at making these providers pay. There'll be other aspects in that. So I'll be introducing that to the Legislative Council shortly. And again, that is actually to provide some relief, not just to the councils, but also to ratepayers. So we'll see how that one goes. I think that's about it, actually. I don't know if I need to talk anymore. Ian, I don't want to keep going because I don't want to make it like...
We'll do a Q&A, Frank.
Well, I'm just thinking that I don't want to be speaking for 6.5 hours like I did in the Legislative Council last year. So, you don't want to hear me for 6.5. But I would like to hear from you and any issues that you think we need to take up in Parliament.